I'm Erin Wilson, and you are listening to Inside NC Labor, a podcast designed to inform and educate North Carolina citizens on the role that the Department of Labor plays in state government.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Inside NC Labor. I'm Jennifer Hagewood. I'm the Communications Director for the Department of Labor, and I'm here today with my co-host, John Mallow.
Hello everyone, this is John. I am a Public Information Officer here at the North Carolina Department of Labor.
Well, John and I are thankful today to have Scott Mabry, who is our brand new Chief of Staff here at the North Carolina Department of Labor. Scott is not a stranger to the department, but he started in this role on August 1st, and so we're excited to talk to him today about his background and what his experience here has been like so far. So Scott, why don't you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Scott Mabry, and a few things about myself. I was born in Albemarle, North Carolina, which is in Stanley County, but I grew up in Norwood, which is a little south of Albemarle. So I'm a native North Carolinian. I had the opportunity to go to public schools here in the state, which was always fun. My parents were both teachers at the school I went to. Imagine
that's
that.
Fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, especially high school years. So, went to public schools in Stanley County and then graduated, obviously, and came to Raleigh to go to NC State University here and enjoyed that. I graduated with a degree in forestry, of all things. So imagine that, me working here for Department of Labor in the role I'm in now after all these years with a forestry degree.
I have a psychology degree, so...
Yeah, those things, you never know where you're going to go when you graduate, right? So I can still tell you how to make money growing trees, even though that's not what I do now. So it's kind of fun. My current role here at the Department of Labor is I'm the Chief of Staff. I come to the role recently from being the Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Labor, and there I was in charge of the OSH Compliance Division, which are all our OSHA inspectors for North Carolina. Had the opportunity to do that for about 5.5 years prior to coming into this role. But I started with the department early on in 2001 as a health compliance officer, an industrial hygienist, coming here right after Commissioner Barry got first elected that year. So I spent about 5.5 years here then, and have moved around to some other state agencies and back into the private sector for a little bit before coming back to NC State, and then subsequently the North Carolina Department of Transportation before coming back to NCDOL. So that's how I got to where I'm at.
You've had quite the career. We will let you leave and come back once. We will not let you leave and come back twice.
Yeah, well, that's probably good. We do say that, right?
You can make that mistake once.
I know.
So you have a background in safety and health. Delve into some of that experience that you have that helps you out here at the Department of Labor, and how it brought you here. Prior, you mentioned that you worked in private sector after you left the first time you came to work in state government, and you said NC State, you worked at the university. So how did you get to Department of Labor in the first place?
Well, I started my career after college with a private consulting company here in Raleigh, and I worked there for about 9 years. It was an environmental consulting company, and I did a lot of safety and health work there, a lot of industrial hygiene activity, and we had several contracts with state agencies and obviously school systems and whatnot. So I got to spend a lot of time working directly for a certified industrial hygienist who owned that company for that time frame, and was able to learn a lot and develop my industrial hygiene career over time, which kind of led into health compliance. But prior to coming to Department of Labor the first time, I had left that job after about 9 years and went to work for a construction company here in Raleigh for about 3 years, and then came to DOL after that in 2001. And while I was at the construction company, I was able to do, I was a safety coordinator there, which was in charge of all the safety activities for that company. And they were a general contractor and trades contractor for a lot of different areas in the construction field. So I got a pretty broad perspective about dealing with that firsthand with them. And that led me into the job here at the Department of Labor first time as a health compliance officer, which is what an industrial hygienist is that. It's the same thing here. But and while I was here at DOL first time around, I moved from that job into the health consulting, which is the consultative wing that we have here in OSH as well, where I got to go out and help people instead of going out and inspecting them. So a little bit different. Did that for a while. I left, went back to private sector for about 3 years for another industrial hygiene environmental company out in RTP, and managed an industrial hygiene work group there of about a dozen people. So they went out and did activities at plants and manufacturing facilities and job sites and whatnot. About the same kind of thing that I was doing when I was with the Department of Labor. So, it was more of a management role at that point. So started down that pathway. And after a little time, I left that job and came to NC State to work in the environmental health department there, environmental health and safety, as a industrial hygienist once again, and then subsequently became the occupational safety manager for the university, which was a role that was a lot of fun because there's all kinds of stuff happening on a university campus like NC State, which you can imagine. One day I'd be working in the nuclear reactor area. The next day I'd be out on a farm working with people with cows. So it runs the gamut on a college campus like NC State of what you can end up with doing each day. So I've got a really broad perspective of all that from the educational side of the house. So that was a lot of fun. That was a really fun job to have. But came up, I had the opportunity a little later on while I was at NC State. I got a call from a friend who had told me that the Director of Safety and Risk Management position at the North Carolina Department of Transportation was open, and asked me to think about that. And I applied for it, and I ended up getting that job. So moved over there for a little while, and did that for DOT, which is everything you can imagine for DOT. Road work, highway work, clean out ditches, everything all the DOT people do, which is fun. And it was a good group of people as well. So, and I got a call from Commissioner Barry to come over here back to the Department of Labor in that role as the Assistant Deputy Commissioner. So I accepted and ended up back here. So that's how I got back to the Department of Labor after kind of moving around things. So my whole career has been in safety and health since I graduated from college.
So you kind of went from a free agency to getting drafted from Department of Transportation to Department of Labor.
Yeah, it's...
You have a good agent.
It is. I had a good agent, and it was some folks I know over the years who had worked in the state government as well. So friends of mine, when things come up, they let folks know. So that was nice. It was very good. It was a good way in to at least get to know people and have them aware of your skills and your background and if it can help out or not. So it was good. It worked out. So it's kind of worked my way into this position as chief of staff. So a little different than what I've been accustomed to over the years, but I think good. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, just to be clear, in all of those jobs, have you ever actually worked with a tree?
Well, I'm trying to think about that. So DOT did land clearing activities. They cut down trees a lot, but I own a little piece of property which I do manage a little bit of timber. So that's one thing I get to play with my college background a little bit on a piece of property. So
in your personal life.
In my personal life, I manage a little tree farm that I have. So
that's pretty nice. Well, we all know that your favorite part about this job is getting to work with us. So, putting that aside, what is your favorite part about working here?
It's not just the Department of Labor, which is I think makes it nice. It's the activity that we do. I've always thought that the safety and health field was kind of like a noble activity, because you're doing things to help people out and help them be safe in their jobs so that they don't get hurt, and they can provide for themselves and their families. So it's always been rewarding over the years to help people learn about safety and health, let them understand what keeps them safe in their job and things they can and can't do and things to avoid, and helping train them and the employers and everybody to try to make the workplace as safe as it can be, because none of us want anybody to get hurt. I don't think there's a single employer out there that wants anyone to ever get hurt on their job, because they have a reason for working there and they have a reason for hiring people, and it's all good, and we want to provide for our needs and our families' needs. So helping people do that in a safe way has always been good. And it's hard to measure what we do, because you never know if you help someone avoid an accident over time. You help train them, you can coach them, you can teach them how to do things, and did all that effort pay off because they never really got hurt in their job? And that's the end goal, and hopefully we all get to that point. But you don't know what all you avoided by training people until something bad happens, and then you figure out what you need to do to try to make that not happen again. But that's always been something I've enjoyed about the health and safety career over the years. It means a lot to be able to say that people didn't get hurt, and you really can't quantify how you got to that point other than putting the effort in on our part and the employer's part and the employee's part, all trying to learn how to do that better. So that's always been something fun, and it makes you feel good about what we do, and it people get a lot out of it for maybe not even knowing that they got there. So
well, and you can't totally quantify things that never happen, but you do see these large companies accrue these really, really long records of no recordable injuries in the workplace, and that's always a really positive thing to see and to recognize. And that's where kind of the other side of our OSH house, the consultative services and ETTA and the training we do, that's where that kind of stuff pays off.
It does, and it's a effort from a lot of people from a lot of different angles to make that happen. And a lot of times people are unaware of one or the other, but we all work together. Even though the compliance division might come out after something happened, we're still going to help you get to a better place in the end, and hopefully avoid that situation in the future coming up again and maybe hurting someone else down the road. So all those different angles pay off. The employer's got to be involved with it. The employees got to buy it. They got to buy into it. They got to understand why it's good for them personally. And then us from a state side of the house, we do what we can to give people the tools and the information to make the decisions that they need to make for their businesses and their employees to help everything pay off in the end and not have injuries.
So kind of springboarding from that, it kind of sounds like you can give people the tools, like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. What's been the greatest challenge, or what is a big challenge that you face? Like I was gonna say, like you train people, but you can't always, once they have that knowledge, it's up to them to put it into action and to actually use it.
Well, that's always a challenge for us, and and a lot of our injuries and illnesses fall into certain work categories, and we at the department have emphasis programs to try to focus on those higher hazard things that we've identified over the years that can cause more problems for people, and a lot of those are fields that have a lot of workforce turnover. Have a lot of people coming into those fields, and they're younger, and they haven't worked anywhere very long, and they haven't been able to develop the knowledge to understand a lot of the hazards that they're just not aware of. So there's always the turnover in employers that generates the need for continual training of your workforce. So that's a challenge that we all face, and I think employers face it as well, is how do we deliver that training and information to those people so that it sticks with them, and then how do we stay focused on it and continue to do it, because it's always going to be there, the need for training the new employee and the new workforce and the new staff and everything like that. So it builds upon itself. It may get monotonous and routine for some of us to do it over and over, but the person receiving the training is the first time they've ever gotten it. So you have to stay engaged, and you have to keep it relevant. You have to stay up to date, and you have to convince them that it's important, because younger people, they just may not understand some of the consequences of putting your hand somewhere or doing this task when it's one of those things that we, who may have been doing it a long time, or recognize the hazard of it. So staying engaged and staying on top of that is always a challenge for the department. Another note that we have here at the department is, and I think everybody's going through that right now, is hiring folks. We're looking for people ourselves here at the Department of Labor to work here, and we have some of the same challenges these days with keeping ourselves staffed up like we need to. So that's another challenge we work with on our side of the house, in addition to doing all that other stuff. So once we hire new people here, we have to train them to be able to train people. So it's an ongoing challenge, and it's never a dull time.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here and ask you a different question than what I had contemplated. But speaking of challenges, it just brought this to mind. So, you've spent your whole career in safety, as you said, and in the department, you've spent your whole career in the OSH division. Well, now here you are, 2.5 weeks into your service as chief of staff. You're responsible for the whole department, not just OSH. That is, I'm sure, quite a challenge. You have all the managerial experience in the world to be able to do this, but how do you manage the challenge of getting to know all of those other parts of the department that you have never worked with?
Well, while I haven't been in those roles, luckily being here at the department, I've been around the folks that do those activities and the standards and inspection side of the house in particular. We do elevator inspections and boiler inspections and amusement rides, and then we have our wage and hour division and our employee discrimination division. So luckily I've had the opportunity to work with the folks here while I was here the first time, and since I've been back. And when I started, I was 2016 is when I came back, late 2016. But I've been able to understand what they do, and some of my friends who I've worked with previously now work in that area, so I have a knowledge of it. But it's a new part of what I do, is helping those folks have the best opportunity to make their job successful as well. And it's a learning curve to it. We've had a lot of meetings, and I've been able to sit down with the folks in those individual divisions over the past couple weeks, and prior to that a little bit offhand, but and understand how they go about their daily activities and what's important to them and what's difficult for them, what are their challenges. So it's a whole new set of things for myself to understand, and what I can do to help them be successful in what they do, and what resources we can give them here at the department to make that happen. It's a moving target. It's something different every day. Some groups churn along without a lot of need, and a lot of don't need a lot of help. But then there's some other groups that have hiring challenges or difficulties from outside entities that make their job hard or more difficult. So it's definitely picking up a lot of new things is on the plate right now for me. And I luckily the folks that manage those groups here are really good, and are very understanding and helpful for me to understand what they do. And I haven't really had any hitches yet, but like you said, it's only 2.5 weeks. But I'm sure things will come up from time to time, and we'll deal with them. I don't think there's anything here at the department that we can't make a little bit better, or if something goes wrong, get it fixed without it causing trouble for anybody outside the department. It's internal that we'll deal with things and make it smoother for us, and hopefully folks outside the department don't even know. So, and the folks that we have in place here, I think, do that every day. It may look like we're nice and calm on the surface, but paddling quite a bit. Was that the duck reference? Yeah. In the water, paddling underwater, so it's all good.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it is a challenge, but I can also imagine it's exciting. You're getting to look at different things for the first time in a while.
It is. It's definitely a step aside from what I've normally done. I've been doing this for over 30 years, the safety and health side of the house, and that's still a component of what I do, which is nice. But I have this other group of people that I work with, and I think I'll learn a lot from them, in the coming years, hopefully, and do my best to make it better for all of us. So it's fun.
Well, and I think I can say this based on my experience working with you over a number of years, but your general kind of attitude about things, and you are very calm, and I think that it will be good across the department. We may be dealing with a whole lot of issues, but it's nothing too big for us to handle.
Yeah, we're lucky, and we've got a lot of good people here that make that happen, and the commissioner wants to do that as well, and it's his goal to have the department and do what we need to do for the citizens as best we can, as efficiently as we can, and I think we've got the right people in the right place to do it, so that's helpful for me.
So just to kind of close things up, as Chief of Staff, what are you looking forward to the most in this position? What sort of draws you to it, or what made you say yes when the opportunity presented itself?
Well, the opportunity was given to me by Commissioner Dobson, and he talked to me about it, and I certainly accepted the role. I was kind of working here towards another role, possibly at some point if it came up. Our director of OSH was going to retire here this year as well, and being the assistant director, I was kind of thinking about that. But when the commissioner came to me and talked to me about the chief of staff's role, I certainly was intrigued by it, and understood our previous chief of staff, and he's a friend of mine, and knew kind of what the job was. So I had an idea about it, and the commissioner seemed to be excited about having me do it, and I was, excited as well. So it was a nice offer, and I took him up on it, certainly, and trying to run with it. It was like I said earlier, it's different than what I had been doing for 30 years, and maybe after you've been doing something for 30 years, it's not a bad thing to try something new. Luckily, it's along the same vein, so I still get to do safety and health, certainly in the job, and be part of that group, because all of us here do that in some fashion, either safety and health or safety for citizens out there doing all those inspections that we do with the standards group. But I still get to be part of that, which makes it fun, but at the same time I get to help the commissioner advance what he wants to do with the Department of Labor, and where we want to go, how we want to help the citizens out in the state, and how we want to advance his agenda. So that's a lot of fun. So I get to be part of that, and I think from a overall standpoint, it's a lot more broad, because I get to interact with some people that I haven't normally worked with in the past, in other state agencies at different levels, and how can the Department of Labor work with the Secretary of State's office to do something good for people, which we've got a few things going with them that we're talking about, and it's those opportunities to branch out and do some new things across other departments, I think makes it fun, and I'm looking forward to doing some of those things. And at the same time, I certainly want to help develop our own employees and try to reduce our, vacancy rate here at the department over the next 6 months to a year if we can, to try to make sure we got people in the jobs that we need to have there to serve the folks in the state here and accomplish all of our goals that we want to get to. So that's what I'm looking forward to, kind of moving the department along. We've had opportunities over the past couple years to, try to advance some of our technological capabilities here at the department and do a few things like that. So it allows us to reach more people, doing things like this podcast. So that's something new, and things like that are going to add to the job and make it more fun and let us reach more people. So that's the only way we get our message out, and that's going to be helpful, I think. So I'm looking forward to that.
And I'm over here rolling my eyes because I'm the least tech savvy person in the room. And Scott is going to advance us from like 1980s technology here in the labor building to maybe like the year that we're in now.
We're working on it. It's coming along. So, luckily we've got a lot of stuff out there we've worked with over the past couple of years while we've been dealing with COVID, because we've had to do things remotely and do things online and do video conferences and all this other stuff. So there's so many platforms out there that allow you to reach so many more people now, and we're going to try to take advantage of them. So, it's going to take a lot of effort, but I think people are looking forward to it. It's new and exciting.
Well, Scott, we're lucky to have you. We're glad to have you in the labor building, and welcome to your new role as Chief of Staff. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us today. Any parting words for our listeners?
Nope, just if you need something, we have a 1-800 number out there, and the number is 1-800-NC-LABOR.
1-800-625-2267.
And that's how you reach the department, and you can call. There's a nice set of options once you get into that system to direct you to the right folks. And, we do try to answer the phone here, and that's something we've been doing and we're able to do over the past couple of years as well. So we're available, and, we'll make it happen.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott, and thanks for listening today, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. And remember, your safety is our priority.